everyone, welcome back to the DIY pocket knife build. This is part 4 and it's the final part. In the last part you saw me grind the knife blade. Came out really nice. I did a full convex grind on it, and then I put a 20-degree bevel on the edge. I'll tell you, that thing is sharp. I got a couple marks here for where they were when I took them off. So we're going to assemble this, then we'll do some final sanding and then some polishing, and this build will be done. So in the interim, while I go get some tools to help me put this together, I'm going to throw in a little clip of me sharpening this blade. Alright, so that was the Lansky system. Let's see how we did. We'll try to get see that? That thing is sharp as heck. Alright, let me grab the tools and we'll put this together. Just a little micro chamfer on there. Okay, so here we go. So what we got here is left out. So that's going to be in my left hand. And we have right out. That's going to be in my right hand. So we're going to start to assemble this. We'll put our spring down. And then we got top left. So we'll take this way, and this one this way. And I marked the pins for the red one to be in the bottom. As you can see, I put a little chamfer on the end of those so that they go in easily. And then we have our right out. We'll get that on there. And then this black one, it goes, oh, got something wrong there. This needed to be turned this way. Okay. Then we're going to take our right out and right top and slide that in there, and we'll take this center pin okay. It starts to tighten up already. Now we have to get the blade in, and I'll show you how you're going to do that. I have here just a little vise with padded jaws. Now the knife blade goes in this way, so you want to try to line up the hole. You can almost see it in there. You put it in the vise. Actually got it backwards. Silly me. I don't know if that's showing up on the camera, but you can barely see the hole. So you want to try to get it as centered as you can. Get it in the vise. Start put pressure on that spring. So you can kind of see straight through it. I'm not sure if that's showing up, but So now we have our pin, and again we have that bevel on the end so we can get it started. You kind of feel it engage into the knife. Now when I open this, the blade should stay in, and it did. Now here I just have, this is a knocking tool, puts knocks on bowstrings, but I like the way that the jaws are positive at the end, so I could grab this and just give it a little wiggle. Twist, twist, twist. There she is. Now, let me go grab a feeler gauge because I'm going to show you before we peen this down, and I want to put a little grease in it. We need to make a space to make sure the blade moves freely. Okay, so I'm back. We're going to use 5/1000 of an inch. Hopefully that'll be enough. And that's the space we're going to want down here on this end between the blade here and the liner. And we're going to do that when we peen this down. So in the interim, I have some of this Uniwhirl lubricant. This stuff is amazing. I use this on my double barrel shotguns and any way you need grease. Just want to put a little dab in there. Works beautiful. Got a half stop. Then as you use this, obviously it'll get worn in even more. So it's looking nice. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to cut these pins. We're going to leave, I don't know, a millimeter or so, and then we're going to peen them down. So it's looking really sharp. And then we're going to chamfer this edges by hand, and we'll have a nice finished knife after we polish it up. So let me get over to where I can show you where I'm going to cut these pins, and we'll continue on. Okay, so we're just going to use a regular nippers to get fairly close. Okay. Now we're going to take this over to the grinder and we're going to grind them down. Again, we don't want to grind them flush yet because we're going to need to peen them. So let's go over to the sander. So let's get at this. Alright, I'm going to do that on the other side and then I'll bring you back. Alright, so we're going to start peening these in. Don't forget to put your spacer where the blade is. Want to make sure we keep that 5/1000 there. Then this is just a little jeweler's hammer. I'm going to be very gentle with this. Very gentle. Okay, so you get the idea. Just go slow. If you hit it too hard, you're going to distort the pin and you might break the bone. So let me get them all peened and then I'll bring you back. All right, so I have them peened in there pretty good. Now I'm going to start to flatten them out and then I'll peen them again. I want to get them as close to the scales as we can, and then keep peening until I could grind it flat and they'll be in that little chamfer. Alright, now back to the peening, and then I'll come back here. Alright, so now we have, they're pretty flush. Right, I'm not going to do it on the machine anymore, on the belt sander, because if I go below that little chamfer I made in there, it defeats the purpose. So the rest of it's going to be done by hand. We're going to hand sand this, get it all nice and smooth. We're going to put a chamfer around the edges, and then we're going to polish it up. This should look beautiful like ivory. Now some of you might be saying there's no thumb nick. Okay. When a blade sticks out this far, I prefer not to put the thumb nick in. It kind of makes it ambidextrous. You know, a lefty could do it, righty could do it, and you know, even though it's got really good spring to it, you can open it fairly easily. Okay, so if you wanted to put a thumb nick in it, you know, here's a sample. I was making some samples to see how I thought it would look. And you basically just take the Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel and very carefully just grind in a thumb nick. Now, traditional Barlows have a giant one going right across the top of the blade here. And they're pretty deep. I like the aesthetics of those, but I made this blade, like I said, a full convex, and it's pretty thin up there, so I didn't want to start messing around with a cutoff wheel, just for something that really is just going to be aesthetic to me. So let's get at the hand work, the final finishing work, and then we'll get this thing polished up. Alright, I have it set up in the vise here, just doing some hand sanding, getting the pins flush, and making sure I don't go too far. We don't want them to loosen up. Just a lot of touching, feeling, hand sanding. It's the same thing when you're doing wood, you know. Just a lot of attention to detail. Just constantly look at it, see your edges, how they look. Make sure all the scratches are out of the liner and the metal. Here I'm just going to ease the edges. I'm liking the flat look since I did the Kephart handle. So I'm going to keep it fairly flat, but I'm going to ease the edges so it feels nice in the hand. And I'm really happy with it so far. So here's what it looks like. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring it over to the buffing wheel and we're going to give it a good buff. Alright, we're going to get this cleaned up with some soap and water, and we'll go back to the table. Alright everyone, we got it all polished up. Works great. Hopefully you can hear that. And as time goes on, it'll even get looser as far as its snap and back action. And I want you to notice these little marks on here. And a little brownish shade over here. That's a natural bone. If you look at this buck knife with the natural bone handle, you'll see the same thing. This will make a nice companion for this knife. This one on my belt, this one in my pocket. But I'll probably be carrying the Kephart. So you probably noticed the tape on my finger. Band-Aid wouldn't stop the bleeding from the cut that I gave myself from this knife. Lesson learned, tape up the blade when you're messing around with the knife after it's sharp. But as Doug Markita from Forge and Fire will say, it will cut. So everyone, thanks again for following along on this journey. It was a small one, only 4 parts, not as long as the Kephart, so kind of tried to keep it a little shorter. But again, I appreciate your views. I appreciate your comments, and thanks so much for coming along, and we'll catch you on the next one.